start off talking about sales and salespeople. We've had some amazing presentations this morning. I just want to run through a couple. Whether or not it's your own business or whether you work for a large organisation, the most important thing with selling is to get your marketing right first. We've had some lovely examples of that. I think Andrew showed us the importance of logos and brands, and you notice how some of those high-profile brands would be so easy to sell. I mean, have you had a McDonald's salesperson knock on your door recently? Not really. They're easy sales, aren't they? Because they have high profile. So if you don't do your marketing and you have a low-profile brand, then I can assure you selling is made very difficult for you. And of course today, don't worry about thinking, well, that's an expensive thing to do. Remember that we have so many cheap options. Marketing on a budget is very easy to do with social media, with all the tools available. You can raise your profile quite easily, quite quickly, and definitely inexpensively. So not to be afraid about having a small marketing budget to do that. But not only do you need a high-profile brand to sell, you've got to remember that all these messages we've seen this morning, I mean, we had some lovely ones from Andrew, some very good ones with regards to Sue and Image. They must be integrated, and you can only get that with a marketing strategy. In other words, a salesperson should be saying the same thing as the website, as the email, as the social media tools. So to get your messages right, you must begin with the marketing strategy. And we're very lucky because we've got lots of people available, including myself, who can help you, and lots of enterprise agencies who will start you off with a marketing plan. So if you've got a bit of a brand and a bit of a profile and got your messages clear and you've chosen to sell and go down the business development route, all you've got really is yourself or your sales team and a potential customer. And I don't have any lovely pictures of dogs, which I'm disappointed at now because I have dogs. But there's only you and that potential customer. And I hope today that I'll give you some tips on your approach towards your potential or your target client. My name, as you know, is Marianne, and the company I'm representing, we're out there with a little stand, is Frogmore Consulting, and we've spent 30 years focusing on soft sales. So I think I'll start by telling you what soft sales is. It's generating sales through high levels of service. We don't have to force the customer to buy the product. We do all the things that have been talked about earlier. Get the product design right, the design of the customer service right, the marketing right, and then the salesperson comes along and creates the opportunity to make a sale. And one of the mantras I started off with, I'm a serial entrepreneur with 4 businesses behind me. It's not like a serial murderer or anything. It's a good thing, serial entrepreneur. I learned about 4 words which have stayed me in good stead. I'd like you to just remember them if you've not heard them before. No sale, no business. All the talk this morning has been great, but until we sell something, there is going to be no profit for the company. So I'm going to start here because people come on my courses and the first thing they do, that they're afraid of selling. It's a natural thing to do, but yet salespeople, especially in a recession, nobody's mentioned that dreadful word, but we were so busy because salespeople became a tremendous asset. They became, you have to pardon me, I've got tissues and throat sweets, got the cold today. They have been an amazing asset. They have become so important. So if you are in a selling role, the communication skills and the ability to build rapport, influence others to make decisions is such a fantastic gift to have. And it's such a wonderful skill that will take you through your whole career. So be proud to be selling, because I am. I'm standing here today and I'm selling. And if you want to come and buy, we're in the hall. A salesperson is definitely one of the most important branding tools we've got. Whereas marketing will raise awareness to your product, service and company, send out certain messages, it is the customer that has got to interface with your salesperson or your business development person. And where does sales start? Well, we've got to get this word over with, and we know. This is what people come on my courses. Some chap the other day, he's a lovely bloke, he came on my course, he said, if I don't carry a briefcase, perhaps they won't know I'm selling. I said, well, if you carry a pork chop, they might think you're a butcher. But I go in with my briefcase and I'm proud to sell, because at the end of the day, let's define it, right? If they wanted your product or service, there would be no need for the salesperson. They'd be able to ring you up and place an order, all right? So selling does begin with, I'm not sure it's right for me. Do I need an image consultant? Do I need Andrew out to do my marketing? Look at the design service we've got with Design Wales. Do I need these things? Always a little persuasion is needed. So very often you will get a no. And I'm not asking you to force people, but I would say that I don't usually take notice of the first one. Yes. So I've managed to, I told you I'd do this, Linda. I get enthusiastic and I can't get back now. But anyway, we'll move on. The barriers to selling form two areas, really. The main area is people get locked into price. Yet if you look at the Institute of Sales and Marketing and some of the statistics, price is number 7. Where we get confused here is people use price as a smokescreen to get rid of people. Does that make sense? You've probably done it yourself. If you're looking at a dress, ladies, and it's £1,000, and maybe the sales assistant approaches you, would you say perhaps, you know, it's not the right colour, or... You use a smokescreen to get rid of the people, but price is often a smokescreen as well. 62% of people who say no don't actually mean it. It's because they can't see the benefit of the actual product or service to them. So the role of the salesperson is to interface with your potential customer, to understand them, not to concern themselves with branding and marketing, but to know that customer inside out. And a good way of learning that is to know what they want. And very often, with due respect, they don't always know what they want. To know what they need, which is what your questions and your customer needs analysis will do. But more importantly, to hit the desire. If somebody wants to buy something, they don't want to buy it with poor service. The desire is perhaps to buy something, have it arrive on time, be at the right price, and to have it to work. So at the end of the day, you're always looking at wants, needs, and the desires of the customer as a salesperson. And selling today is all about win-win. It's all about both people being happy. You can, you know, I remember I went to B&Q the other day and I picked up a leaflet, build a garage in a weekend. I read it and I called a builder. So at the end of the day, but you can get stuff like that. You can even get legal advice on the internet. Since the internet, people can choose, they can go anywhere. They're more educated. They're not going to be sold to anymore. What they want you to do is show them relationship between your product and service and their business needs or their individual needs. I hope that makes sense. That is your role. One of the things about customers is they have to see that you've got their best interest at heart. Okay? So you can know your product and services a lot and be very familiar with it, but at the end of the day, if you don't relate it to the customer needs, you're wasting your time. That is extremely important. It has to be in relation not just to their needs, but to their business objectives. Terribly important. So really, a good customer needs analysis when you're face-to-face with a potential customer is important. And I like very much to show you how to do that a little later on. When I meet people who are selling, you can usually see the difference between somebody who is going to be what I call a professional salesperson because they prepare themselves. They particularly prepare themselves for no. So if your customers tell you no, make a list of why they won't buy off you. Make sure you've got a good list of that, all of the objections to buying your product or service, and make sure that you have some sort of benefit that way that no, that's terribly important. So going back to the barriers to selling, right? When we were a child, we hated the word no. I don't know what you were like. I used to throw my porridge out the I can remember that. My mother's actually got a picture of it all over her, which she often shows me to remind me. Even at 65, she shows me this porridge all over her. That's what happened when I said no to you when you were young. We don't like that word, but at the end of the day, once we realise that the more no's you hear, the more you're selling, you begin to get the idea of it. Don't be afraid of it, welcome it. And remember, the reasons why people don't buy on price, if they can't see the value, you've got to say to yourself, did I not show them the value of it? You know, because come on, how many of us have paid too much for something? Any hands up? Yes. How many of us have bought things that we know are just a little bit outside our budget? Yes. You know, and when you look at a car on the road today, and you could buy a car for about 5,000 and get it on the road. So why is it that my old man spends all his time talking to me about Porsches? He says the back of a Porsche resembles Angelina Jolie's bottom and he wants to stroke it. It's another story, I'll tell you that afterwards. But at the end of the day, what has happened to him? Somebody's convinced him of the value of a Porsche, okay? A feat of German engineering, the best drive you can ever have. So that is our job. We have to explain to a customer where the value factors are. And if we don't know them, we're in trouble. So yes, we will get price as an objection. Sometimes we are selling to the wrong target audience. You know, you heard earlier, I think it was Andrew said about the target client. You've got to know who's got the money to buy the product. There is no point in selling to people who can't afford you. And I will always say to myself, is this a smokescreen? You know, one of my favourite ones I get, because we do a lot of training, is we've used our training budget. Is that forever? Or is that up till the end of the financial year? You can't just let that go or you'll walk away and you will not get a sale. You've got to really explore it a little bit more, all right? And a good salesperson, get their diary out. You will see a good salesperson. There's a few in this room that I've already met, and I would think they've got appointments in 2013 because this is your lifeblood. You have got to get to see people, you've got to get to talk to people, and hopefully I can give you some tips on that. So, what do good salespeople do? They prepare. I'm terrified to touch that now. Okay. I've told you, I'm going to stop talking about strategy and marketing. I've given you my advice. You've got to do the marketing first. If you're a one-man band, as they like to call us sometimes, please do the marketing first. You need, without a doubt, to do it because it's going to tell you, after research, who your target client is. You're going to understand your brand promise. And a good way of explaining this, because we've had a bit on branding earlier, is a brand promise is what your customers expect from you. It's what we expect when we buy a McDonald's. It's what we expect when we buy a Porsche. At the end of the day, what is your brand promise? Have you ever actually sat down and written it? And in a minute, I'll ask you to look at brand you as well. But you do need marketing to give you the brand promise. It is this which is so vital to your customers. This is what you're promising your potential customers. USP, unique selling proposition. We've all probably heard it at some time. That separates you from your competition, and you will get people to say, I'm very happy with the person I've got at the moment, thank you. I'm sure some of you have heard that. Yes, we've got an existing supplier. Without a USP that's going to separate you from them, at the end of the day, the salesperson's going to struggle with that one. So we do need to do this marketing. People often say to me, do I ring first a client, or do I send a letter, or should I send a brochure? You have to determine your sales process in your strategy. But a good way of if you're a new business particularly, is just try it. You know, try it for a few months. If it's not working one way, try it another way. You need to understand the messages you need to get over. The marketing will give you that. And your choice of communications, how are you going to sell your products and service? Well, of course, we've got websites, social media. These are only communication tools. Don't let people get you carried away with them. Don't have rabbits jumping across your website. Stick to what you're trying to do, which is sell your products and services. They're only communication tools. And then, of course, you've got the salesperson, one of the most important people in your organisation. Brand you. When I first started in selling, I know some of you will laugh at me who know me, I did struggle. I did find it quite hard. I did have the door shut in my face. I also made a sale through a letterbox, which according to my first company I worked for was quite something. I didn't realise as I was putting my card through the letterbox that you didn't have to go to that extreme. I also heard two words, yeah? The second one was off, and I'm too much of a lady to tell you the first one. So, I thought I'd better do something about this, and I've spent my life with some of the training providers here, you've seen, Cherry Blue, Business in Focus. I spent my life training and developing my communication skills, my confidence, my assertiveness. And I think if you're in sales, you cannot learn enough about people and communication. One of the biggies around at the moment is what they call the behavioural sciences, and that's to understand the behaviour of a potential customer. For those of you who've dabbled in behavioural sciences like neuro-linguistic programming, And Sue mentioned a book earlier with Margaret and Alan Pease. If you start looking at behavioural sciences, that is the study of the behaviour of the person you're about to sell to. Try some of this. It really changed my life. So the behavioural sciences allowed me to sell to people perhaps who I maybe wouldn't have walked across the street to say hello to. One gentleman I'll always remember very affectionately, after approaching him in a network, I tried to say hello to him. I'd seen him once and I was very new to selling. And he said to me, "I remember you," he said. "You're the woman with the little business." And yes, I think a few ladies sighed then. I think I wanted to say to him, "And you're the man with the little," but I can't because I'm too much of a lady. But so you do get, and I've had the same off women as well, you do tend to get quite a few knocks when you're selling. And I think understanding people and understanding your approach, it stopped. As soon as I understood how to approach people a lot better than I was doing it, then I was more successful in building rapport, better with relationships. So I hope that has made sense as well. So don't, get on courses, talk to the people in the room today, get trained. One of the words that was bandied around today, Linda started us off with passion. And I think, really, that's a fantastic word. But I think there's another word that we need to look at. And I'll go for enthusiasm every time. Because if you're not enthusiastic about what you do, your product, your service, how much it can benefit that potential client, don't think they're going to be enthusiastic as well. You really need to be, not over the top. I don't want you to end up like Wendy. Have you ever spoken to Wendy? You know, the one that gets you out of the bath. "Hello, I'm Wendy. I'm in your area today." And you just want to say something awful to Wendy, but she's just doing her job. So we don't want to be over the top, but we do need some passion, enthusiasm, and something behind what we're saying. Never criticize a customer. This is something that I think the service design team that are here today will back me up on. My customers, they're all shapes and sizes, and some are quite unique. I will leave it there. They are challenging and unique, and this is why it's important to get skills so you can manage them. I want to run through, if I can as well, a little bit of a toolkit for you. Oh gosh, this is marvellous. It's all working. We heard earlier about the uniform, about Sue's comments on image, and I'd just like to add another one to that. What does the customer want to see? Because this will lose us a sale, without a doubt. Our first impression, what is the customer expecting? We know what we expect when we're in hospital. When the nurse arrives, we wouldn't want to see her in anything else but that little uniform, because that's sending us a message, correct? If the AA guy comes, when your car breaks down, what is he wearing? Sending us a message. So just think for a minute, what is your sector that you're in? If you're in art and design, then maybe you should be sending a message that shows you're in art to design. So I like to dress for my sector. I'm in business training, so just that wee bit suited and booted, as you can see. So I do think you have to take that into the equation with it. I'd like to give you some of my tips now, and one of my biggest tips I've given many of my clients is to understand the buying process. We all go through 6 stages of the buying process. If you've never bought off a company before, I will show you exactly how a potential customer thinks. And as soon as I tell you, you'll agree the same things happen to you. I put it in an acronym called SPACE, which I'll go through. So in your toolkit, not only have you got to decide about what you're going to wear, your introduction, under a minute please, before they glaze over. When I first started my own business, I used to pin people to the wall. People used to come and rescue them after 20 minutes because I was so excited that I'd started this consultancy that generated sales for companies. I used to bore them senseless, but a short, sharp introduction, less than a minute, because they will have switched off. And one of the things that's really important for your introduction is please tell them what you do for them, not what you do. I met a lovely chap in Swansea University recently. I asked him what he did. He worked with computers. It was a big word, that. So I tried to pin him down a little. What sort of, hardware, software? He said back end. So to this day, I'm not quite sure where he's working. It sounds very painful. But if I met somebody, they're unlikely to say to me, do you know anyone who does back-end stuff? If they do, then I'll be able to pass his card on. So I think you need to say what you do for them, not what you do, because sometimes we do baffle the poor old customer. Features and benefits, anyone who's been in sales know, tired of hearing it, but I cannot stress it enough. When I get with somebody like Linda, who's an expert in development, we can talk features till the cows come home. But when I talk to clients, it's got to be, if they're not an expert in generating sales, then it's got to be in benefits. So do make a list of the features of your product or service and make sure you've got the benefits as well. Know your sales objections. Take these 3 for a start, write them down. It's too expensive, you'll hear that one. And if you can't, you've got 5 things to say for that, I have. You know, what price do you put on making a sale? You've got to think what you're going to say to that. My mother was a lovely example, you know. I bought some Ray-Ban sunglasses. That's talking about added value. They cost me a bit. My mother said, it's disgusting paying all that money. I got my glasses from the Esso garage. £1.95, she said. And I just said to her, is that the price you put on your eyes? She's got a pair of Ray-Bans now, so we're all right. But at the end of the day, know the objections and be prepared for them. There's nothing worse than an amateur salesperson going to see a potential client and not being prepared for what they're going to say, which is, I've got an existing supplier, it's too expensive, and my favourite, we haven't got money. Yeah. Okay. So, spaced. Let's move on to that one. Now, just to run you through, because I don't want to hog now, because we've got Janice up in a minute, and I want to hear all about, because I haven't seen Janice for a while from Barclays. I want to hear her talk too. The spaced. I've done it like an acronym to try and remind you, and it is a bit jargonish, but let's run through it, okay? The first thing, if they've never used you before, is a fear. Every new customer's got a fear. Who are you? I don't know anything about you. Are you any good? Did you start your business yesterday? So this is where on our website and marketing communications, we need to stress how long we've been in business, and if we've only been in business since yesterday, then they need to know about our expertise, any awards. Try and go for awards if you start a business. I think Emily was proof enough earlier about the power of the Dragon's Den. That was fantastic. Get some sort of third-party evidence. Performance. Can she do what she's saying she can do up here on this lectern? Where performance is the third party. That's where all your awards come in, your clients' testimonials. It's no point in asking me if I'm any good, because I'm just going to tell you I'm brilliant. You know, you've got to talk to a customer because, you know, most salespeople, perhaps they generate money, commission, sales when they sell. And there is a distrust of a salesperson, so make sure they've got that third-party evidence. Oh, we hold an award. Do you realise we're under British safety regulations, or would you like to look at my client testimonials? The other thing is appearance, and I think we've had a lot on that today, which has been really useful. You're only going to get your one chance to make a first impression. It has to be pretty powerful. Comfort's a good one. They've got to feel comfortable. I had a lovely chap come to see me and sell me a conservatory. I'm going to use him because bless his little heart. He should have gone on a course first, I think. He said to me, did I want a load-bearing frame on my conservatory? Well, do you know what a load? I'd have no idea. So being typical woman, I didn't want to show I was stupid, so I didn't buy off him. He also asked me, did I need Pilkington glass? Did I need these thread things? It got very technical. The other salesman that came took me outside and said, where's that conservatory going? And I said, right there. He said, whose window is that? I said, it's my bedroom. He said, you'd want to get out in a fire, wouldn't you? I said, yes. He said, right, you need a load-bearing frame. So if you're going to make the customer feel uncomfortable because they don't understand what you're saying, then you're going to lose your sale. The other thing about comfort is making sales. Somebody asked me to fill in a form to make a sale. No, you fill it in, I'll sign it, okay? And the same with a check. You fill it in and we just sign. So everything must be easy. I think with comfort, it's that simple approach. Make them comfortable. Don't worry about it, Mr. Jones. It will arrive. All you have to do is sign here on page 28. I'll fill the rest in. Economical. I rest my case with economy. You will not lose sales on price if you understand that price is only the barrier that you're there to break down. You know, my mother and her sunglasses, if you don't have something to say on price, then you're going to lose the sale. So write a list of things that you would say. If they think it's expensive, what would you say to that? Get that right in your head. Durability is about relationships. Long gone do people sell now as a one-off. It's all relationship selling. So whenever I write to anyone or email, especially if I meet a potential client for the first time, I talk about the future. They may ask me about sales training and I'll send them details of a workshop, but in that same little email or letter, I will talk about the future, like, this is the details of the workshop that you asked me about, and I've been thinking a lot about your business, and these are some things we can do over the next 10 years. So durability, long-time relationship, you can't make a quick sale, you build rapport, and make sure you follow some of the service design information that we had earlier. So let's think about spaced. That is a buying process. If they bought from you before, some of those will be missing. But if they've never bought you before, what are you going to say to each of those? If anybody wants any further advice on that, you come and have a chat with me, because it is very quick. Now, before I go, I was asked to sort of teach us how to sell. And there's so many situations, telephone, field sales. So I thought I'd talk about what we would do in a day like today. I'm sure you're all very good at it. I was watching you outside, and I don't really think you need me to tell you, but for those who are learning, here's one I've made for you. I think, going back to the introduction, I would normally go up and say, I'm Marianne, I'm in sales training, and I would shut up. Now, this is very hard to do. You think that's easy? I was born like this. So when I went on a training course when I was 18, a gentleman said to me, you know the 3 monkeys? That one that does that. He said, can you just shut up and you might find that you'll sell something. So I think you have to learn to shut up. If you're a bit of a talker, just introduce yourself and concentrate on the only person that matters, the person in front of you. You've made your introduction, which they understand. I'm in sales training. What do you do? And you're going to take an interest. And even if you've been up till 4 in the morning, you've had to carry, you're tired, whatever, at the end of the day, you've got to, I shouldn't say this in public, should I? Fake it if you have to. Sincerity. You've got to be interested. I'm lucky because I love working with people, so it comes naturally. But for some of us, it doesn't. But you've got to show an interest. So what's your body language on that? Now, when you ask relevant questions, you need those written out ready. For example, if I'm in sales training, I would ask something like, who does your selling? It's one of my questions in your organisation. Do you do the selling? Have you had any training? Funny that, isn't it? They buy a computer, they have training. Go into sales, don't. So I would get to there. What you're trying to do during your conversation without them feeling they're on mastermind, you've got to find a link. So you would introduce yourself, chat about the weather or about the conference or whatever it is, start to ask questions, interweave in those questions, the questions you need to ask to get to the link. And the link is a common subject between you. For example, I'm just starting a business would lead me to try to sell in sales training. So I would use that link. You know you're starting a business. Should I come along and have a chat with you, give you some tips on what to do with your sales process? So that would probably get me in. You must tie up loose ends. There was a lovely lady I used to meet in the network. Everybody loved her. She never had cards. And everyone used to say what a nice lady she was. And then one day, it was quite funny, 7 of us were in a circle, and somebody said, what does she do? And we all said, we don't know. So you must make sure they've got your card, because they can forget about you, believe it or not. You're not the only thing on their mind. So make sure they've got a card from you, and you've got a card from them. And never leave it more than 3 days to contact them. I went to the Chamber of Commerce in Cardiff the other day, and I live in Swansea, and by the time I got back to Swansea, there were 8 emails. So how long does it take to get from Cardiff to Swansea? And those people had emailed. What message did that send me? That these people are service orientated. They don't hang around. They said they'd contact me, and they would. Okay? So don't leave it long. 3 days is quite long. Get straight in. And you do need a response pack for that. I think I'm coming slowly to the end now. Is anybody coughing yet? Are there signs? Oh, we're ready to go. Okay. Little sign going up now. Just make sure I've told you everything. Yeah. Okay, so just before I finish, I want to just remind you of my mantra. Did I tell you earlier? 4 words. Anyone remember it? Started with no. No sale, no business. Thank you very much for listening.